Just want to ask you, we know that members of the international community, including, for example, Amnesty, have come forward. They've actually condemned how long it took the report to come out. But for Indian audiences who are aware of the Uyghurs, we know, for example, that they're a population of about 12 million in China. But could you still lay out for us the historic story here, please?
There has been this story runs for almost a decade when China believed that there has been some dissent going on in terms of religious ethnicity, religious minority group. They are trying to claim their past heritage, which is not something that Chinese authority believed, and they started doing in a very small groups, taking these people prisoner into their detention camp and trying to re-educate themselves, where they would have to forget all their religious learnings and religious leanings as well, and they have to become more communist, as we say in Chinese terms, and more aligned to the idea of a larger China in a vision that has largely been created by Xi Jinping's presidency in the last few years. So this is how they started doing, and in the forced detention of people, there had been several deaths. In fact, there has been reports of human trade also, organ trade also. So many gory and heinous details have come out of these camps in the past, and we have never been able to establish the fact, because every time there would be a report, Chinese would brush it off, saying that this report is biased and politicized. But this time, when United Nations, which is an organization accepted by all and which has a Chinese acceptance also, this has come out with this report. So this will surely have a ramification in terms of credibility.
Abhishek, if I may just ask you to stay with us for a second. We have Alok Bansal, who is the director of the India Foundation. He often discusses matters of international importance with us here on the show. He's with us this morning. Sir, thank you so much for joining us once again on CNN News 18. Sir, I want to ask you two questions. First, could you explain to us the international repercussions of a move like this, particularly when multiple human rights outfits, multiple agencies had for a few years been pointing out that such crimes were possibly taking place? Still, with the UN coming forward and formally putting out this report, what could the international repercussions be?
Till now, China would brush it aside by saying that these are biased reports and being brought out by countries which have a vested agenda. But with United Nations report, they'll find it extremely different. More importantly, the OIC countries, which have been brushing this under the carpet till now and have not made past any resolution about this grave human rights violations, will find it very difficult to keep quiet now, because this issue would be raised, because for long it has been known that Uyghurs had been confined to camps. There were reports of millions of them being confined and I think being brainwashed, being trained into some things. And of course, when we talk of organ trade and things like that, these are really, really grave human rights violations. In fact, this reminds us of the Nazi concentration camps where similar things used to happen. I think this is extremely ghastly, and I think the international community will respond to it, including the OIC countries, which have been very, very reticent as far as criticizing China is concerned.
Okay, sir, I just want to remind our viewers, we've time and time again seen China deny all allegations of human rights abuses in Xinjiang. Now, sir, with this report coming out, we know also that the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping is set to come once again into power, possibly in just a few months from now. Sir, could this report and its repercussions possibly be so damning that his power comes under question? Or is that not likely to happen because these were revelations that were largely known?
I don't think so, because as far as Chinese Communist Party is concerned, these revelations really won't make any impact, because Chinese Communist Party knows it, and I think as far as the treatment of Uyghurs is concerned, there is by and large a general consensus that they needed to be crushed, and I don't think so that would have a repercussion on his becoming a third term. Though, of course, there is some criticism which is coming within the Communist Party of China. We have seen certain letters being written, certain issues being raised, that why this autocratic system whereby Xi Jinping is trying to garner all the power in his hands should be there. But I do not think that this would be an issue which would have an impact. This would have a greater impact internationally, where China is actually trying to make deep inroads into Middle East amongst the Islamic countries and others, where there is likely to be a reaction, because this is a serious issue and might have an effect on China's relations with these countries. So that is where I see a bigger impact. Internationally, there should be some reaction. Many of the Muslim countries, their population have been critical of Chinese treatment. All those countries' governments have been fairly reticent in criticizing China.
Sir, thank you so much for illustrating that for us. Let's go over now back to my colleague Abhishek Jha, who's with us. Abhishek, we just spoke to Alok Bansal. He actually made a very interesting point that one of the areas in which this report could have its most damning repercussions could possibly be in China's relation with a number of Muslim countries in the Middle East with whom it is trying to build stronger relationships. Do you see that possibly happening, or do you think countries in the Middle East may be able to turn a blind eye to what this report has to say?
So clearly there is a huge irony when we talk about Muslim countries and their relationship with China. This has not been a fact that is not in public domain. From various sources, we have always been able to understand and recognize the fact that there is clear atrocities and human rights violation going against Uyghur minority Muslims in part of China, and they are put in concentration camp. But the Gulf countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, which itself tries to embody itself as a something which is totally based on the law by Sharia and Islam, and they are trying to become a protector of Islamic values. They have never come out in a very strong worded statement against China. In fact, when former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan was asked in a press conference about this Xinjiang province, he clearly denied the even knowledge of something that is actually going on and happening in Xinjiang. So we know the kind of looking away these Muslim countries and their group of Muslim countries have been doing when in terms describing or acting the fact that there is clear atrocities and human rights violation being committed by China against Muslim minorities in its provinces. And there is a reason behind that, because China is one of the largest crude importer, and these Gulf countries, these OIC countries are there. The China is one of their largest client, and there is a huge trade-off going on between these two countries. We know the BRI project that has been laying billions of dollars of infrastructural projects across various countries, including Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, and there are other like Central Asian countries. So they have been keeping mum on Chinese atrocities against Muslims, because it helps them to flourish. In fact, it helps them to grow economically with the help of China. And if they come against Chinese government and authorities, they know that there's going to be economic and financial implication for that, and probably they are not ready to bear the cost of it.